Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. A late start tonight for the Buccos. They're in Seattle trying to bounce back after a 6-0 shutout yesterday. That game, first pitch, was just 20 minutes ago. So this one is going to be very late for all of our Bucco fans here in Pittsburgh. And I mean, if you guys are staying up to watch this whole game, I commend you. And hopefully, you know, they can turn it around. And that game yesterday, not a pretty sight, especially after a 6-game win streak, dominating 6-game win streak, I might add. So, you know, unfortunate that yesterday happened, but hopefully they can turn it around today. Still scoreless right now, I believe, as we head to the second. So we'll keep you guys updated as this sports call goes on, just score updates. But yeah, I'm joined alongside Jason Mackey again tonight. Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, you know, yesterday we talked a bit about, you know, the trade deadline and some reports coming out today, Noah Hiles and some other people as well, about Mitch Keller and the possibility of a trade with the Mets. You know, Mitch Keller has been around for what, 5-6 years here, and obviously has a lot of weight for this team, and it would be a big trade. He has something like $50 million, I think, over the next 3 years left in his deal, I'm pretty sure. And $15 million this year. So just what do you make of all the reports today, and where do you see Mitch Keller's future?
I think he's going to stay in Pittsburgh, Cassidy. I think there's going to be a lot of fuss over Mitch Keller over the next couple of weeks. I don't see the Pirates trading him, and here's why. Ben Cherington is not going to remain the GM next year, and I don't think he's going to have the latitude to make a franchise-changing trade like dealing Mitch Keller. I understand they need bats, and that will hold true, and I think it's going to be something that is definitely talked about in the offseason, and I think that's a more likely time if they're going to trade Mitch Keller. But I think when it comes down to it, Ben Cherington's just not going to have the autonomy to make a deal like this. It's a very, very big deal. I fully expect them to get calls on him. I don't doubt that the Mets are interested. The Cubs have expressed interest. There are probably teams that we don't even know about, and it makes a lot of sense for the Pirates to explore that. But when it comes down to it, I don't see their trade deadline approach sort of widening beyond the guys who are on expiring deals.
Yeah, and you know, you and I talked last night a little bit about that 6-game win streak, and you mentioned how it didn't change or influence your opinion on this ball club and where they stand right now. But do you think it maybe influenced at all? I mean, it feels like I've heard a lot more hype coming out of that 6-game win streak about possible trades, especially with Mitch Keller. Do you think that win streak at all influenced any of this today?
No, I don't. I don't. I think it's just that time of year. And Mitch Keller's a good pitcher, and people need starting pitching, and the trade deadline is a good time to pick it up. A lot of people probably look at the Pirates' position and Mitch Keller's salary that you mentioned and think that the Pirates are going to dump some salary. They do it year after year. And on paper, it looks like a deal that they should make. And frankly, Cassidy, they should make that deal. The problem with the Pirates right now, you have a general manager who hasn't been able to add any offense whatsoever. And now you're going to have him trade the highest paid player for the biggest need. I don't see them extending that amount of trust. So, I mean, the 6-game win streak, yeah, it kind of let people breathe easier a little bit. I want to see what happens on this road trip if they're able to extend it. Obviously, that didn't happen last night. And, hey, maybe they end up going, 6-3, 7-2. And I think that sort of lengthens their, window at this and kicks the can on whether they need to be absolute sellers, something like that. I mean, they are taking every game as bits of information, but like I said last night, I just don't see – they are so far down the road, not looking like a very good team. I don't think one road trip is going to change that.
Well, and I think the strength for them right now, and really all season, has been the pitching. It's been the pitching staff. So it also confuses me in a way. Why would you touch the one thing that seems to be working right now for this team?
Well, because they have – okay, that's a great question, and there's a couple reasons for it. One, those guys have value, right? Like they've produced. So if you're going to look to, trade from something, trade from a strength. Mitch Keller is a strength. You're going to be able to get something for him. The other thing is they have young arms coming along, and they can replace Mitch Keller for cheaper. If you trade Mitch Keller, you can bring up Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington. Braxton Ashcraft can move from a relief role into starting. Johan Oviedo is rehabbing his way back. There's a couple other guys that could come along as well. Mike Burrows, he's starting tonight. He could stay in the rotation. So the term I use in explaining this in writing is backfill. And so they have some available backfill guys that can sort of replicate what Mitch Keller does, and they can do it for cheaper.
Yeah, so you know Mitch Keller, you think he's going to end up staying here in Pittsburgh. So what kind of move are you expecting to see then from this ball club if there is a potential trade down the line?
Yeah, so I said earlier about guys on expiring deals. And to put some names with that, that's Andrew Heaney, Caleb Ferguson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Tommy Pham, Adam Frazier. I expect to see a bunch of smaller deals, Cassidy. And trading Andrew Heaney makes sense. He's not going to be a Pirate next season. He has a reasonable contract. He's pitched well. Is he going to net you any premium prospects? Probably not. You can get somebody who's closer to the major leagues, but their ceiling is lower, and you can get somebody with a higher ceiling, but they're farther away from the major leagues, so there's more variance there. And, I mean, you can maybe get one prospect. You can maybe get two. You trade 5 guys. You end up with, I don't know, 7 names back, something like that. I think the wild card in all of this, honestly, is Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yeah.
Because you look at Mitch Keller, David Bednar. I mean, those are sizable trades. I don't think they're going to trade Brian Reynolds. Ke'Bryan Hayes is somebody who would make a lot of sense to trade. I do think they're going to get some calls on him. They already have. And he doesn't give them what they need. They need offense, and he hasn't produced much of it. So he is the one that I think if you're going to make a sizable trade for the Pirates, he would be the one that I'm circling.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. All right, guys, we're going to take our first break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. Cal Raleigh, historic season continues. He has 4 records, guys, that he could break. Most home runs in a season by in the AL, passing Aaron Judge. Most home runs in a season by a Mariners player, most home runs by a switch hitter, and most by a primary catcher. So obviously went yard twice yesterday against the Buccos. It was an unfortunate 6-0 loss, but Cal Raleigh, man, he is at the top right now, has the most home runs in Major League Baseball at 35, on pace to finish with 64. So just amazing for him. He's really out there. Definitely a hitter that the Pirates could use, or, you know, someone like him. But, Jace, before we get to the phone lines, I do want to talk a little Steelers. We talked at the end of last night's show, just mentioned Omar Khan's contract. I want to dive a little more into it. He did get that 3-year extension. And I know it's been a little bit of a smaller sample size with him, but how would you assess in the short term, the past, 2 years, how he's done?
Well, Cassidy, I really like how different Omar Khan has conducted himself. And I like Kevin Colbert, too.
Yeah.
But Omar Khan has been a very big departure, dragging the Steelers a little bit into modern times. I like how aggressive he is. There's no call he won't take, no offer he won't entertain. And I think by and large, he's done business in a way that makes sense. I like his drafts. I think there's an element of to be determined with Omar Khan, and I don't want to say that because it sounds like a cop-out, but, the offensive line I don't think has sort of found its final form with Broderick Jones moving over to the left side. Troy Fautanu was hurt. We're going to see what we get with Derek Harmon. I really like the pick. I like what he's done in drafts, but just some very, very big swings and an unwillingness to tolerate the same old, same old. The Steelers have needed something like that. I don't think they're fully out of that funk because they remain in the same place with the head coach. But I like his willingness to cut bait with George Pickens or to go out and go after a DK Metcalf, to make the trade they did earlier this week and trading out Minka Fitzpatrick, bringing back Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Like, they're not clear fits, but they're obviously good players who are going to help the Steelers. So my overall takeaway is I like the aggressiveness from Omar Khan. Obviously, the proof is going to be in the pudding, though, when it comes to results and playoff wins.
Yeah, and another trade, too, that happened early in the offseason, Najee Harris going out to L.A. and leaving kind of a big hole here in the run game. I mean, look, he wasn't the most explosive back, but he finished 4 seasons straight with over 1,000 yards. And I think he averaged this last season like 3.8 per carry. And so, you know, a little bit of a downslope in this last year, but he had the majority of the touches for this offense on the ground. And so with him gone, my question to you is, do you think that Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson are going to be able to fill that hole that he's left? And also, I mean, Caleb Johnson looks explosive. I know we only got to see him at 75% at OTAs, you know, in shorts, but I mean, he looks like an explosive guy. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I kind of do see a world where maybe at the end of the season we're standing here and him and Jaylen Warren have equal, maybe Caleb a little bit more touches, you know, towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy at all, Cassidy. And if I look at their running backs right now, no offense to Najee Harris, but I don't think they've gotten worse. I think they've actually gotten better. I like Jaylen Warren as a primary fit in this offense. You're also not going to ask Jaylen Warren to carry too heavy a load. And you know, if Jaylen Warren's getting the ball 12 to 15 times a game, if you're giving it to Caleb Johnson 7 to 10, maybe Kenneth Gainwell gets 3 to 5 touches, obviously very round numbers, but I think you've got better fits in what Arthur Smith wants to do. We've heard a lot of talk about more zone plays and having running backs who can read off of blocks. And, you know, we're not seeing the boring old toss sweep to Najee Harris that doesn't work and they just continue to do it. I think it's going to look a lot different. Caleb Johnson at Iowa ran almost exclusively zone scheme plays. And that is something I think he's going to do a lot with the Steelers. And I agree with you on him so far in rookie mini camp and regular mini camp, OTAs, all that stuff. He's looked very good. Every test that he can pass so far, other than pass protection, I think he's looked very, very good.
Yeah, and he's already kind of stepped up and been a leader in that room. You can tell when they're out there at practice and stuff. The guys kind of rally around him a little bit. So it'll be really interesting to watch how that all plays out. And, I mean, I said it after Najee left. I love Jaylen Warren. I'm a big Jaylen Warren fan, but I just don't know if he has what it takes to be able to sustain a full 17-game season and an every down back. Like, he's very explosive. He's great in those third and long situations for sure, but I just don't know if he can sustain such a long season and that many playing that much. And so having Caleb Johnson in here, I think, is really going to help. And just watching that play out is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and Cassidy, Jaylen Warren shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you signed Kenneth Gainwell. That's why you draft Caleb Johnson. Like, it should be a timeshare, and I don't think that's a bad thing for the Steelers. I think it's actually better than giving the ball to Najee Harris a ton and it not working out.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get to the phone lines. We have Bob in Bethel Park who wants to talk Pirates. Bob, what's going on? Oh, you there?
Bob.
Okay, I think we lost him. All right, Rick in Robinson Township. Rick wants to talk about the Pens. Hey, Penguins started prospect camp this weekend. They have that scrimmage on Monday. Rick, what's going on? Oh. Hello? I think everyone's just hanging up on us tonight. Are you there?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
No,
I was like, 2 in a row.
I was listening to
Dang.
you talk about Warren, the Steelers.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He's explosive. But my question is real quick and simple. Okay. We've seen it on KDKA News, and everybody's wondering, okay, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, and the Penguins, we're talking. Who's staying, who's leaving?
Oh, easy question.
Yep.
I mean, Jace, I will say I would be shocked, I think, at this point, if any of those guys leave, to be quite honest with you, just because maybe Malkin. I've seen a lot with, potentially him leaving, but I do think they brought Dan Muse in here to be kind of that bridge coach. There's a huge gap right now in this roster between legends that are towards the end of their careers and guys that they're young guys they're trying to develop, and they're trying to balance out this roster and get these guys to play to their full potential. And you and I were both at that intro press conference, and it really sounded like he wanted to keep those guys here and figure out a way to make all of this work. But what do you think?
Too bad, Dan. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he and Kyle Dubas are very much in on the plan, and I don't think it includes Evgeny Malkin, and it won't include Chris Letang whenever his contract is up. I think the Penguins are in a serious state of transition. Barring some sort of miracle this season, I don't expect them to be very good. I don't expect them to care about being very good. It's all about the draft picks. It's all about the future. And that doesn't mean Evgeny Malkin, is going to get kicked out the door, at least not this season. He's going to play his final season in Pittsburgh. I fully expect this to be it for him. He'll probably go over to Russia for a year or two. And Chris Letang, I think it depends on how he plays. If they can move him, I think they'll be open to that. But he didn't have a very good year last year, and there's a lot left on the contract. There's concerns about his health and his medical situation, understandably so. So at minimum, Chris Letang's going to play out his contract here. I don't expect him to get another contract with the Penguins.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you there. Letang's, those health concerns have always been a concern, and so I could see that happening. I don't know. I was at that press conference, and the way he was like talking, I know what I'm walking into. We have legends here, and it felt like he just really wanted to bridge
I
this
wouldn't
roster.
expect him to say anything else, Cassidy.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to get in front of us and say, you know what, I can't wait to get the old guys out the door. The better we can get, the sooner we can get them moving along. No, and I get that being the goal. Like, they want to win. They want to try to change perception of the team, and they want to try to surprise some people and win. Of course, I don't think Dan Muse is going to go into games in 25-26, expecting to lose or wanting to lose. I just think he's going to be ill-equipped, and I don't think he's going to have a roster that's really going to allow him to do much.
Yeah, the roster definitely does need work. All right, guys, we're going to head to break. Give us a call, though, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this.